I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Yes. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening, and hopefully you'll be dry when we leave tonight, but nice rain, better than snow. But we have an evening here with a lot of kids here tonight, and we want to recognize them for being exemplary knights, and you excelled, and so we want to be able to be sure that we recognize you this evening. And we're going to start out with the staff first, actually, because so many times the kids and the parents leave and they don't get to hear about how good our staff is here. And so we'd like to thank our staff for everything that you've done. You've done enough to where your peers have said, you know what, we'd like to recognize them and for their effort and their work. I encourage you again to read all the good remarks that you don't get to see that we do until your monthly newsletter that you get from our superintendent. So be sure to read that because they're all listed in there from the reports from the administration team. Tonight we have with us here this evening to recognize from the Schneider Elementary building is Tanya Evans. If you'd come up at this time. From the Blue Ridge Intermediate Junior High School, we have Anita Beeman here also as well. From the Blue Ridge High School, we have Jacqueline Meisner here as well. We need to get a picture. From our students here from the Blue Ridge High School, we have with us Carmen Ellis. I think Colby is not able to be here this evening, but let's recognize him as well. From 8th grade, we have Caleb Forrest. 7th grade, I don't think Presley Wishman's here as well, but let's give recognition. 6th grader we have here is Peyton Keeler. Right. 5th grade we have Braxton Soliday. 4th grade we have Emma Barton. 3rd grade, we have Carly Dodson. 2nd grade, we have Sunny Yeagle. 1st grade, we have Anna Landed. And then from kindergarten, we have Anna Crawford. Thank you. Parents and students, you may leave at this time or you can stay for the transportation projections. Buzzkill, I know.
Don't take it personally, Deborah.
Oh, we don't have the mic set up. And the podium.
Wiggle the podium up there too? Wanna wiggle the podium up there? No?
Okay. All right. You have the floor.
Okay. I think it kind of has me, though. All right, so you guys all should have a packet that looks like this. Is this on? Hello, hello? Yeah. All right, you guys know I'm nervous every year with this, so we're going to do it again, all right? We all know with the rising cost of leases and the back order issues still we're having issues with. I've done a lot of research this year in different avenues to meet the district's needs and to try to keep the costs low as minimum. Wasn't easy this year. Leases are up, cost of everything is up. But we still went into every revenue, every avenue that we could go into, and so I'm going to just explain it a little bit because you got extra boxes that you don't normally have on your little list here. Okay. So if you look at the left, you'll see the big box to the left. That's our current fleet, what the leases are, what term that they're in for the lease. Let's go with line 1. It is bus number 3, 77 passenger. You'll follow it over. It's in a 5-term lease. The lease payment that we're presently paying. And then column E shows what year is on this year. So next year, the same bus, still 5-year, still the same lease, but now we're in the last term. So your K through 0 columns are additional information that I put in this year just to give you that information as we go through the rest of it. So when I tell you what the price of a new lease is, you can see I compared with other companies and went through all the other available ones that we could go through. That's another thing. Not all the companies have availability to get chassis for certain buses this coming year, unless we want to wait until January to get a chassis, and then they start building the bus at that time, which gives it the following year before you actually get it. So it's almost taking 2 years to get a bus if you want certain buses. That we just can't do that, especially for wheelchair buses and activity buses that we have to be able to run the district. So, that being said, maybe I should have brought the podium. Okay. All right, so we're going to start at line 3. Line 3, column I, is a proposed lease for 5 years. We have presently a Bluebird 77. Bluebird lease is at $22,528. That is in your column K. The proposed lease is an IC International bus for $29.65 a year. They have one only because that the people who had ordered a set of buses this year, so it's 2023 chassis, rejected some of the buses because they ended up not needing them. They reduced their fleet down, and they had like 10 left, so we were able to get it at a cheaper rate. Still a brand new bus, never been driven, no miles on it, but it'll fit our needs instead of paying an extra $2,000 a month for a lease. Now, if we go to line 7, it is a proposed lease for a Bluebird white activity bus. If you look down at the next line, which is line 9, activity buses were costing us $8,000 for a lease. Now they're $16,000. This is what I mean about the difference in the prices. It's crazy. Activity buses are obsolete for chassis right now. The only company out there that could say, I can get you an activity bus by October, not by August, by October, is Bluebird, can guarantee it. Chances are we'll get it by August, he said, but I can guarantee it by October because they have the manufacturer already going on with it. So they already have the chassis, they just have to finish building them. But that's the only one that we could get a new activity bus with. So, none from International, none from Thomas, only Bluebird has them available. Leasing an extra activity bus is crucial for our district. because we don't have enough staff. We don't have the regular drivers, let alone the sub-drivers to cover the routes and the activities. An activity bus, anyone in this district that is employed by the school can drive a non-curriculum activity. So sporting, a coach can drive it as long as it's 14 or less. So we have, I think it's 6 activities in this school right now that I know that have 14 or less on them. So by involving the coaches, the ones that are willing, or I've even had principals drive to the activities, it really helps the district out and is able to meet our needs better than it's just a yellow bus that we can't force people off the street to drive. Trust me, I would like to just stand out there and grab them up and bring them in and say, you're going to train, but they're just not willing to do that. So the only other choice we have is to look in other avenues again, and that would be for the white activity buses. Excuse me. Line 9, column I, proposed purchase. We had spoke last year in reference to purchasing another white bus. Our white bus that we presently have is at the end of the lease. It's at the 5 out of 5. Again, no more chassis. So if we're going to end up with those 3 that we had talked about last year to be able to have to meet our needs and to give us that extra bus, the only thing that we can do is purchase the one that we have. There's no more out there. I did price new ones, if they come available, $100,000. $99,999 is what they cost. A new regular white bus is $135,000. I mean, regular school bus. The prices have gone outrageous, and I don't know when they're going to come down, but it doesn't look like they're coming down anytime soon, and it doesn't like that they're getting any back order stuff caught up enough to catch up with the chassis demand either anytime soon. So the purchase price of that lease, since it is at the end of the lease for us, is the buyout is $40,000. We did put budget money back for that from last year to be able to buy a white bus if we found it. We did not spend that because we never found one. It was unavailable.
How many miles is on that?
Miles on that one? I did not bring that information, but I know it's around 20,000.
Okay.
The other bus that I'm recommending, which is the next line to go back, is closer to 40-something. Which brings us to the next line. Now, anytime you guys have a question in there, go ahead and throw it in, because I know it's a lot of information.
Get you off track here, but I did have a question, and I know it's probably a dumb question, but with the proposed new lease of twice as much as what it was prior for $16,000 for a 14-passenger for a 5-year lease. So let's say by chance prices start coming down in 3 years, we're stuck on that.
We're stuck on the 5-year for that round. But if they go up, instead of finding someone, say you got a 3-year lease, and 3 years from now it's double, you're still paying that. So it's the good with the bad you have to kind of weigh out. And I don't know how to weigh it out any different, because there's no other choices to be able to choose from when it comes to the activity buses right now. There's just none out there right now. Everyone, it's like liquid gold. They're hoarding them.
Deborah, can you talk about the depreciation on the
white bus?
Mm-hmm.
The buyout on the white bus. Okay, so we get 5 years when we lease something. That's the reason we don't lease over 5 years. They did offer on the white bus, and I didn't add that in. If you see over in line or column O, you'll see that 9,519, and then 10,709. Those are buyout lease options for those 2 buses, but you're paying 5 more years on a lease. The problem with that is, 1, you're paying another $7,000 for the same bus you can buy for free. 2, you don't get to depreciate it on the state claim at the end of the year. If you buy it, then it's a new purchase, and you get depreciation for another 5 years. That's a big deal on our state claim. Question? Okay. You're looking really serious, so I thought maybe you had a question. Our state claim, a lot of depreciation and stuff on the vehicles is a big chunk of our claim too. So it's important when we're looking at vehicles, any new purchase that we get, that we are able to claim it for the maximum amount as possible. So if you're buying something on a lease for 5 years that you've already leased for 5 years, they won't let you continue to depreciate it. But with a total purchase, it's considered a new purchase. So then you get to depreciate it for another 5 years. The wheelchair bus, line number 10. Again, that's another one that's at its end of its lease. The wheelchair bus has had a lot of issues. I propose that we return it. It's a small wheelchair bus. They're wanting $45,000 for it, or the $10,700 for a 5-year lease to own on it. No one can get me another one, but if the next line that we're going to talk about, the large wheelchair bus, the reason that bus, the little one, was brought to the district was because of a certain student that needed temperature control and went to a different town that fit the needs now, or then we don't need it now. So we're paying for, to replace it, we'd pay for something that we really don't need at this point. There might come a time later in the future that we might need another one, but not now. And I can't predict, if we ever will need another one, but I don't think that the district should have to pay for something that we don't need at this point. So my request is to return that one, save the district a little bit of money on that one. Line 15 is our big wheelchair bus. We do have a wheelchair student presently that is at the high school that will be here at least another 3 years. And so that wheelchair was on a 3-year lease. Now, that wheelchair has been broke down more this year than last year, and more last year than the year before. So it seems to be on a trend of breaking down. And now it's not just the wheelchair that's breaking down, but there's other things on it, like the heater, just $3,000 for a heater. We didn't have to pay that. It was under warranty, thank goodness. But it's on a trend of more and more breaking down. So the only one, and MTE, which is International Bus, said, well, I'm sorry, we can't get a frame for that until 2024 January, and then we'll start building it. So I couldn't even get a quote for a wheelchair bus from them. I tried Thomas. Thomas says, okay, I'll get you a quote. I never got a quote from them after several phone calls back. The only quote I could get on that new wheelchair bus would be the one that's on column I and row 15, the 24, where we were paying the $17,941. Now we could extend our lease for another 2 years with the IC bus for $22,182. However, with all the problems we're already having, it's my suggestion that we go with a new one that is freshly under warranty and we don't have to worry about all the breakdowns. Yeah. It is really inconvenient for the student every time the bus breaks down. And the parents, there's been several times where we had to have the parent bring the student here because we couldn't go get him because of the breakdown. And now to the lower boxes. We have our plow truck that's 2007. You can see that has 129,000 miles on it. It's had a lot of work this year, and it still needs a lot of work. The tranny is not good. The rust underneath is bad. I'm concerned about it pushing snow at all. And anytime soon, I hope we don't get any snow. So my understanding is, and I haven't been with the district very long, but past practice was you guys would get another truck and you'd rotate them out. I asked the question, why? Why do we have to spend the money on getting a brand new truck to rotate out and get the oldest truck for the for the transportation, when the district doesn't need to spend that much? Both the trucks that the two schools have low mileage, are in excellent condition. I talked to the O&M, I talked to our mechanic, and I'm like, why do we have to do that? Average amount of miles put on a truck for the transportation department is only 1,800 in a year. Why do we have to get a new truck? So I called Ford and went through the whole thing, researched how much, because they got a new state bid in this year, first time in 2 years. Well, let's see if you're on the list. We're only allotted so many trucks. So they pulled up our name with our numbers. I'm sorry, but you're not on that list. Your name says 0. But I'll call the Ford dealership that makes them and ask them for an exception. I never heard back from them. Called them back. Well, I haven't heard anything yet. If they call me, I'll let you know. That's the one that says it would be $58,000. That would be a new truck with the state bid, which is not bad for a brand new truck. However, it's more than we need to spend for a new truck right now. The next one underneath, we looked at used trucks for what, like, Doug would want, an extended cab to be able to put the stuff in and stuff like that. We looked at his specs because that's who would have got the new truck if we had bought it. So this one has 34,000 miles. It's still going to be $55,000 for a used 2019. So my proposal is that we look for a used truck for the transportation department between the year of, again, now remember, every new purchase we make is another 5-year depreciation on our state claim. And if we get a 2015 through 2019, up to $40,000 with a new plow on it. It would do the transportation department for years and not cost the district as much. That being said, we did put back the money for a white bus in our budget last year. We did not use that. I propose that we look for the truck as soon as possible because, like I said, I'm scared to have anyone plow snow with it. I sent the truck to Kankakee because the GPS unit got left in a bus when they come back to get the loaner buses. On his way back, it threw a U-joint on the way back and started shaking. So, minor issue, right? Wrong. Then it led to this and this and this and this after it just got out of the shop. This is the kind of issues that we're having with it, plus the rust and the transmission. And so I'm concerned about it doing anything else. So I'm asking if we could spend the money that we had put back for the bus on the truck now, because we can't buy out the lease, even if we're going to, until the lease is up. And that won't be until June 30th, and that would be July 1st before you can buy it out, which would be on next year's budget. So that's my proposal. Any questions? I know it's a lot.
Is that truck just used for plowing? That's it?
Plowing and running to rescue a bus if it needs it,
Okay.
Miscellaneous.
So it has to be able to go on the highway, essentially.
Yes.
This is your proposal here, the one cover page.
That is one of them. That is this still on? Hello? Yeah. That is the one for the buyouts on the two little buses. And then there is one for the 77 passenger bus. And then there's one from Bluebird for the wheelchair bus and the micro bus, which is the activity bus. Like I said, there's a lot of information in your packets.
just wondering if there was a new business or something to, a formal stating, you know,
Yeah, this is our presentation, and then if you would like to give us some guidance with what you'd like us to do, there's a lot there to process, and if you'd like us to come back with an official proposal for February that we can approve and move forward with, and we can do that.
okay. Does anybody have any questions?
No. It's 14 passengers, 15 is the driver.
So even if we had a team of 25, you could take 2 white buses.
Correct.
It would essentially paying an activity bus driver. Yeah, what I'm saying is though, when you have, the new lease is twice, but you are gonna be saving on the driver during the entire time, right? The entire time that driver is there.
Correct.
So if you go to an all-day tournament and that bus is sitting there all day, you're paying that driver to sit at the ball game all day.
That's correct.
Is there enough space on those activities trucks for, you know, team equipment and everything, plus the passengers?
Okay, so bus 42 is smaller than the average one, so there's less room on that one, but the 40, you've been on 40, right? I think it has adequate space to be able to put your stuff toward the back, and the new one would also. 42 was what we could find at the time, which is great for the smaller teams, and they have room as long as, you know, they're not one of the big carry-on, lots of stuff, and, you know, baseball boys have lots of bags. So I don't recommend 42 for baseball.
What is the current small wheelchair bus for? You guys run a route with that?
No, we used to. Last year, it was run for the Clinton route for the one kid. It did have 2 on there at one time, then it went down to 1, and then that child aged out and is no longer in our district. Mhm.
Do you feel you got clarification enough to bring back a proposal then in February?
Do you have any questions anything that you have questions about that you want Deborah to look into further?
Looking at the 14 passenger buses, is there any difference in between that and 15 passenger van?
We're not allowed to use a 15-passenger van. It's outlawed.
Just not enough safety?
Right. They road too easy. That's the ROE state thing. There's a whole lot of, you can use a 10-passenger van. You can't use anything over a 10-passenger van. But you can use a 14-passenger bus.
Would there be any benefit to having a 10-passenger van, or is that just?
We have 3.
We already have one.
Yeah. And,
So there's no-
yeah, both activity buses and all 3 vans are being used on the 19th. So, yeah, we've been quite busy, and even then, there's sometimes I have to say, I'm sorry, we can't do it because there's just too many things on one day. So they have to rearrange a little bit to get everyone to where, I mean, we've taken kids early, dropped them off, then came back after route to get them. I mean, we're trying every which way that we can do it to make sure everyone gets to every place that they need to go and get back home. But sometimes coaches don't always know how they're going to schedule it from one end to the other. And then when they all throw it at me, it's like, wow, I can't do 5 trips in one day. That just doesn't work out that way. That's hard for a bigger district with enough staff. So far, we've been working it all
Yeah.
out, but it's not been easy.
I guess my question is, with more limited ability to find any of the 14s, is there any kind of benefit to adding more 10 passengers than the 3 that we already have?
Again,
And it's just availability, or?
it's a backorder chip thing right now. That is still part of the play to getting any trucks in, any vans in. Anything on the state bid is basically a lottery right now. And you don't want to pay full price for it because that's expensive. We could look for used ones. That would help a little bit, but then you're taking 2 vans versus 1 bus. or 4 vans versus 2 buses.
Using more drivers than we're gonna have.
Right.
You don't have none. All right, okay.
No issues with the truck proposal, finding something used for transportation department?
No problem.
Okay. And the wheelchair idea, going down to one bus, I like the idea of having something absolutely dependable.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you,
Right.
Deborah. CBA in our collective bargaining agreement. I'd have to look at that.
I'll have his bag ready for him.
Yeah.
That'll be cute.
All right, we're going to move on to our communications. Looks like we had a FOIA.
FOIA request from Smart Procure, again, asking for purchasing records from the end of September through December 22nd, and it was fulfilled in a timely fashion. We had what appeared to be a spam email asking if we needed bookkeeping services at Snyder Elementary. Again, it was responded to in a timely fashion. And we had a communication from a staff member. It's listed as fine arts, but specifically it was about general music, and that was in the packet for your review.
All right. And bookkeeping services email, did you already talk about that? That was it.
I did.
Fine arts. Committee reports.
Committee reports. Finance Committee met this evening at 6 o'clock with Kent Kuhl from our auditing firm, and we received our AFR report from FY22, which closed out on June 30th of 22. We have a copy of that bound for everybody this evening, and let's see. Would anybody from the committee like to give a report? I wanted to give our overall status, our profile information, if I can find that in a timely fashion. We have an overall score of 3.55, which gives us recognition status.
Which is the highest status.
Yep, same as last year, so that is good news for the district. And there will be actually a single audit that is coming after that, but that will be done in the months coming. And that's due to the additional federal monies that are coming through due to the COVID pandemic.
Okay. And you've seen all the other committee reports. There's none. So we can move on to the administrative reports. Dr. Stanafer.
Okay, that would be me. My report was short this month. We talked about a successful curriculum day as we came back in January. The administrative team were talking about plans for the summer. Those might look very different than they have for the last 2 summers. So we're going to bring those ideas to you as soon as possible. I think we're in final stages for having our HLS 10-year surveys for each of our 3 school buildings approved. That's been pushed to the ROE at this point, and we should be hearing from ISB soon, I would think. Once again, somebody told me today Farmer's Almanac is looking like it could be a little bit snowy, perhaps, at the end of January going into February. And if that's the case, want to make sure anybody listening is aware of our Blue Ridge #18, IL app. You want to make sure that you download that app onto your smart device and you allow notifications coming from the unit office and from any respective school building that you're related to. That's one of the best places to get early notifications. We'll also make sure it's pushed out to every news and radio channel. But if we are having weather issues, we're going to be either calling an e-learning day where kids are learning from home, or we're going to be calling a good old-fashioned snow day. So we'll be making those decisions after Deborah and I and Mr. Brad Stout are running the roads early in the morning. And next we would have the quarterly financial report. You'll find that in front of you, color copy. And let's see, I will bring your attention to the top left corner where you'll see this was updated at the beginning of January of 2023. Underneath that, still in column B, you'll see in yellow that we've been through 50% of the fiscal year 24 school year so far. In column D, you'll still see that these are unaudited fund balances at the end of June 30th of 2022, because when I made this document, we did not have the audit in hand, but next time you get this report, those will be audited fund balances. However, these numbers were sent from the auditor previously, so they might actually be on target and exact. So those are your fund balances to start with. I'll then bring your attention to column F, where we talk about the actual monies that have come in each of our funds to date, so 50% through the year. And then you look in the next column, column G, that tells you about what percentage of what we thought would be coming in through the school year has come in so far. So up on the top with our operating funds, you'll see that our percentages are very high. So that means that quite a bit of our tax money, tax dollars are coming in. If you look down below into our closed funds, funds 30, 50, 60, and 80, and 90 down below, you'll also see that most of those numbers are very high. You'll notice that Fund 60 is a little bit, you'll look and see 21%. Why only 21%? That is, the anticipated overall revenue in that fund is very small compared to the others, you'll notice, and a third of that is from the school maintenance grant that we anticipate getting, but we have not heard word if that we have received that, in fact. So that's why that number is so much smaller. If you look in column I, the actual expenditures to date are in yellow there, and you can see in column J the percentage of expenditures that we've had to date. Again, we're at the 50% mark through the year. So if you look up top, it looks like we are just under that. So again, we have correctly overestimated our expenditures, so you're seeing just under 50% that we've spent. If you look down at the bottom in column J, you'll notice that the closed fund expenditures are also doing good. Fund 30 is driven by the payment schedule for bond and interest. So we've spent more in that fund, and it's because of when those when the payments are due. Fund 50 is the next fund. We've spent right about 50%, and that's because those funds are due throughout the year on an even schedule. Fund 60, that was basically to complete the payment for the transportation office, and that was the majority of what would be spent in that fund, and we've paid that off, so we have the majority of that expenditure is done. And then next we go to Fund 80, tort. A lot of that is driven by the timing of our insurance renewals, which come very quickly in the new fiscal year, so that's why that expenditure rate is high. And then Fund 90 expenditure is very low because we have to wait till we have HLS things approved before we're allowed to spend out of there for the majority of our pieces. So that's why that is very low. And that is the update on the financial report for the end of December. Anybody have any questions on that?
No.
Alrighty.
Okay, Mr. Payton, you're up.
Good evening. I just have a couple of updates. It's only been about 10 days of in-person instruction since we've been back from break. One of the things we've been working on a lot right now is just getting through all of our winter benchmark testing. This is the time where we collect a lot of information to see the growth from fall to winter, and that helps us to kind of drive instruction both in the classroom and then also for our title intervention groups, both in math and ELA. So we are currently finishing up our Ames Web Plus, and we'll be beginning Funness and Pinnell testing, our benchmark testing, next week. So it's an important time for us. We get to see a lot of the growth that's taken place and determine what our next steps are. The other big thing that we have coming up is we have our Bug Awards coming up on Friday. So if anybody's interested in attending, that's going to be at 2:30 at Snyder Elementary in the cafeteria. This is actually kind of the first big awards type ceremony we've had in person, at least in our building, since the last couple of years and everything that's happened. So we're excited to get parents back into the building and to recognize our students for one of two purposes: one, either bringing up grades and getting to a standard where they want to be, or maintaining a high standard throughout first quarter and second quarter. Any questions?
Good evening, everybody. Just a couple of quick things myself, too. Some of these things will be parallel to what Mr. Payton has shared. I know I brought up the sing-along last time that I was here, and I just wanted to kind of follow up on that. And since that's happened, I've had lots of good feedback from staff and from kids and from families, and it was just great to see that entire parking lot full across the street that day. And I'm really hoping that we can make this kind of a tradition moving forward. I just wanted to bring up a little bit of stuff on Curriculum Day. I had all but 2 of my staff there on a volunteer day. I thought it was amazing. It gave us some time to collaborate as we begin our new semester and just kind of enjoy each other's company and see the reinvigoration after a little bit of time off, and yet also have some shared learning spaces that day. So I thought it was a really great experience of my first curriculum day at Blue Ridge. So I appreciated that greatly. Again, just like Mr. Payton shared, we are kind of in our mid-year diagnostic and assessment season. One of the things I will bring up is, as we piloted iReady this year, it's kind of, we're learning a lot about it and how we can use the data that we have from it and how that will impact decisions we make with our staff about instruction and how we kind of look at growth for our students. And we've just, there's been so many great examples of our kids really digging in and trying to show us what they can do on something that kind of gives us an idea of how they compare to other students nationally at their grade level. And so it's been that certainly that aspect of it's been really informative for us and really kind of helping us as we kind of visualize how we want to move forward in lots of different academic areas there at the intermediate junior high school.
So we're going to move on to the approval of consent items. I need a motion and a second.
Can I add one thing about consent first? I will say that for our copier lease, Mrs. Weedman has been working very closely with our current agreement with Striglos. Just today, just a few hours before the board meeting, we got 2 proposals, one for a 5-year lease, and you'll see that on a paper in front of you. We also had a proposal for a 3-year lease. There was not much difference in the pricing between the 5-year lease and the 3-year lease for the total amount. So obviously it made more sense to go with the 5-year lease to get 2 more years out of about the same price. However, she has responded back to the gentleman to see if there's any difference in pricing that he can offer. So I'm placing this before you because our lease is up this month. If there is a change in price, if he's able to lower that, I may bring a revision to you in February, but we'd like to approve this while we can so we don't have a break in our relationship, but hopefully we'll bring a lower revision to you next month.
So 3-year to 5 years now.
It has been 5 years.
Oh.
We wanted to go with something shorter so we
Okay,
could
so it's
have
5
some
to
other
3.
options, but
All right.
how many devices? I am not positive the total number of devices that we have in front. I'm not sure that it says in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're probably looking at least 11 or 12, I would think, total. Probably about 12 at least, yeah.
Okay. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items listed on attachment A as presented. Carlos,
9.
Jason, Laurel, roll call. Yes. Moving to old business, we have the press 110, second reading, set 1.
We had in set 1, there were a couple notations that I had made as you went through the long list there. I wanted to just bring back up to you. Policy 4165, there were a couple things that were added to that policy that I wanted to check on. One of which was to make sure that we were noting for parents signs of grooming behaviors, and the method that we're going to use for that is, we're charged with certain policies have to be made, have to give parents notice of them. We felt like just putting policies on our webpage was not the best, most evident way for parents, and we know that it's hard to find things on a webpage. So we've created a policy letter for parents that is put in front of them when they register, whether it's in the summertime or any time during the school year. And policy 4165 is one of those policies that's already notated on that list of about 10 policies. And We already have a letter that's linked there for signs of possible sexual abuse. That was one thing that was included in the policy. Now we will add to that signs of grooming behaviors for parents so they can see those as well. So we're in compliance with this policy. Additionally, they're asking for policy 5120 to be attached to all handbooks that we have. So we'll make sure that that is done. Other language for policy 5280. We did not already include language about our coaches from the 9 through 12 level taking the drug enhancement training. Our coaches already do that, so we're going to add that language in so it's accurate. And our coaches, we currently have our coaches take AED training through BUSHU, so it's an online source. We felt like it would be even more enhanced if we had them actually do a quick review with the actual AED machine once a year. So when we have our fall coaches meeting, our spring, when we do those coaches meeting, we'll have a few trained staff members, whether it's a nurse or Dave Kramer, Doug Kramer, whomever we have available to us, we will ask them to come and do a quick AED review at that coaches meeting before the parents arrive. So that is our way to supplement what is on those two policies where we had a little bit of question.
All right.
Who has to provide? No. No. And technically, we already provide it. Right, and we have, yeah, so we'll have a nurse or we'll have both of the Kramer gentlemen have that medical training. So we, yes. Oh,
That's what I'm questioning. Does it, I would verify, does it have to be an instructor, somebody who's certified to teach it?
well, the training that we have through BUSHU is actually sufficient. So this is just extra, showing them, I mean, they know where the AEDs are, but it would be nice for us to actually say, here's how we open it, here's the power button, we feel like we're getting a step closer with having that done. We would like to, we talked about, do we take the step further and say we would like to do CPR training? That's not required, that's not part of the policy. Would we like to get to that place? Yes. But that's not part of the policy, but we'd like to go in that direction. So.
Any further questions? I need a motion and a second to approve the first set of Press 110 policies for the Blue Ridge School District 18 as presented. Kenna? Francie? Kenna? Okay. Yes. Moving on to the new business, and we have before us a review for approval, the 21-22 annual audit and shared services report and fiscal efficiency schedule.
And that's what Kent came to speak with us about. I don't know if there's anything that you'd like me to add.
No. So we need a motion, a second to approve the 2021-22 annual financial report, shared service report, and the fiscal efficiency form for Blue Ridge School District 18 conducted by Moles, Yawkey, and Brown and Cole LLC, Shelbyville, Illinois, as presented. So moved. Jason. Yes. Need a motion, a second, to move from open session to closed session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, dismissal of specific employees of the district, and ongoing pending or probable litigation at 7:50 p.m. Carlos? Dale? Yes.